Hello, hi, a very happy good evening. So this is Krishna Ma'am and we're talking about the story of life on earth, and that's biology. So thank you so much for joining my highlight series. So please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. So today we are talking about, or we are highlighting about the ducts involved in digestion as well as the enzymes involved in digestion. So when you talk about human physiology, so human physiology has a major weightage from all the chapters or all the units of your class 11th. Right? So when you think of human physiology, you have 7 chapters. Of the 7 chapters, the first chapter is your digestion and absorption. It's a very simple topic, but yet it can be tricky and confusing. So what are the areas that is tricky and confusing in your digestion? So that is what we're going to highlight today. So that is our highlight series today, so about digestive ducts and their enzymes. So without any further delay, we'll begin digestive ducts and enzymes. But before that, tomorrow at 5:30, we are going to highlight respiratory volumes and respiratory capacities. So please be there tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. to discuss to join me for the highlight series of respiratory capacities and respiratory volumes. Alright, yes. So here we go, digestive ducts and digestive enzymes. So before we talk about the ducts involved, what are ducts? So first of all, there are 2 types of glands, if you know, right? So what are the 2 types of glands? So we have exocrine gland and we have endocrine gland. But I hope you know what is the difference between a gland and an organ. So a gland is one which secretes, only secretes. An organ is the one which has a physiological function. Right? So there are 2 major classifications. So you can classify glands on major types based on the secretion, the nature of the secretion, the way they secrete, etc. But there are 2 broad categories of glands. One is exocrine glands, the other one is endocrine glands. So your endocrine glands are the ones which do not have ducts, and their secretions are called as hormones, which comes in your last chapter in your human physiology. So when you talk about exocrine glands, they have their own ducts. So here I mean ducts is the passage through which they release their secretion. So you can see this in case of your digestion. So exocrine glands secrete juices through their own ducts, through their own passage. So I have told you exocrine glands are like those which own their own car, which have their own vehicle. So endocrine glands are those which use your public transport, that is they are ductless. So they release their secretion into the bloodstream, right? So this is how it is. So see, this is an endocrine gland. It does not have any passage. So it releases its secretion into the bloodstream itself. Whereas this is your exocrine gland. So they have a passage through which the secretion comes out. So this passage is your duct. So this is the major difference between endocrine glands as well as exocrine glands. So your endocrine glands have no passage. Your exocrine glands have their own passage, which is called as duct. Alright, so I hope I have defined ducts clearly to you. Yes, so we move further. So glands of the digestive system. So how many glands are involved in digestion? So first of all, it is your salivary glands that is involved in digestion, which is followed by the largest gland in your body, that is your liver, and the third one is your pancreas. So these are the 3 glands that are involved in digestion. Okay. So we'll begin with your salivary glands. So the 3 glands are here. So we'll begin with your salivary glands. Salivary glands. So you have 3 pairs of salivary glands, but these glands are situated outside your buccal or your oral cavity, but they release their secretions or their juices into the buccal cavity. Alright, so how many pairs of salivary glands we have? We have 3 pairs of salivary glands, and these 3 pairs are situated outside the buccal or the oral cavity, okay? But they release their secretions into the buccal or their oral cavity, okay? Principles of inheritance, iska part aayenge kya? Where are we? Out of nowhere you're saying principles of inheritance. So principles of inheritance was completed W. So what happened? So principles of inheritance was completed. So probably in between you were busy, no? So you would have missed a bit of the chapter. So please check into the playlist where you have missed. So I have completed the chapter fully. You gave me the suggestion, I did it and you were not there. So you have to find out from the playlist. So it should be there. I have done an entire chapter of principles of inheritance. Alright, so this is how we have the 3 glands. So now what are the names of the 3 glands? The first gland, salivary gland, is the parotid gland. Okay, so it is the largest salivary gland. Out of the 3 pairs, the largest salivary gland is your parotid gland. Okay, so these glands are located just below the external auditory canal. So this external auditory canal is your eardrum. It's a part of the outer ear, so this is your eardrum. So the passage with which the secretion from your parotid gland comes out is the parotid duct or the Stensen's duct. Fine. So this opens in the upper jaw. So the upper jaw and the lower jaw is there. So when the secretion comes out, so where does the secretion go? Into the upper jaw. Fine. So the upper jaw, the portion where the secretion is released, that is your buccal vestibule. So sometimes this region can catch or it can become vulnerable to a viral infection. So that is mumps. So what is the first gland? Salivary glands. How many pairs of salivary glands we have? We have 3 pairs of salivary glands. The first one is your parotid. So that is present in the cheeks, just below the external auditory canal, and it opens out into the upper vestibule. So the second part of the salivary gland is your submaxillary or the submandibular glands. So it is towards the lower jaw. It is located in the junction of the upper and the lower jaw exactly. The duct is called as the Watson's duct and it is the largest salivary duct. Which is the largest salivary gland? This one, parotid. Right? Which is the largest duct of the salivary gland? That is the Watson's duct. Right? So the last one is your sublingual gland. So lingual means tongue. So when I say bilingual, when I say trilingual, so bilingual means he or she can speak 2 languages. When I say trilingual, he or she can speak 3 languages. So here when I say sublingual, it is below the tongue. So lingual means tongue. Alright, yes, it is the smallest salivary gland and the ducts are called as Rivinus or the Bartholin's gland. So these are the 3 types of salivary glands and each salivary gland has a passage. Fine, which is the passage of your parotid gland? The Stensen's duct or the parotid duct. The duct of the submaxillary, that is your Watson's duct, this is the largest duct. The duct of your sublingual, Bartholin's or the duct of Rivinus. Clear? Yes, so here we look into the picture of that. So we have the parotid gland, so which is just behind the auditory meters. So you have the sublingual, which is beneath the tongue. You have the submandibular, which is the junction between your upper and the lower vestibule. So the first gland in digestion is your salivary glands, and here we have the image of the salivary glands here. All right. Yes. So the next largest gland is your liver. So this is the largest gland. Okay. So which is the largest organ? Even still a lot of students do not know. So your largest organ is your skin and the largest gland is your liver. Fine. So the largest gland of the body is liver and the liver weighs 1.2 to 1.5 kg in an adult human body. So it is situated in the abdominal cavity right below the diaphragm and it has 2 lobes. So I hope you know what is a diaphragm. So diaphragm is a flat shaped bone. So right below the diaphragm you have the liver and the liver is partitioned into 2 lobes. Okay. So the hepatic lobes, so liver is hepatic, just like kidney is renal and lungs are pulmonary. So liver is hepatic. So you have 2 lobules, that is hepatic lobules, which are the structural and functional units of the liver. So these lobules have hepatic cells which are arranged in the form of cords. Alright, so what is it? So liver is the largest gland in your body. So your liver is partitioned into 2 lobules. They are called as hepatic lobules. Inside the hepatic lobules, you have the hepatic cells which are arranged in the form of cords. Alright, yes. So each lobule is covered by a thin connective sheath that is called as the Gilson's capsule. Fine. So, you know what is a connective tissue? One which connects different tissues or different organs together. So, around each lobe of the liver, you have a connective tissue sheath, and the name of that sheath is Gilson's capsule. So, there is one previous year question talking about the Gilson's capsule, where it is found. So, it is found in the liver. Alright? Yes? Fine. So, here we have the structure. So, here we have the two lobules, and each lobule is covered by a sheath, that is your Gilson's capsule. So, we got the last gland. So, that is your pancreas. Okay. So, pancreas is not mentioned. So, let me give you a quick recap of pancreas. So, pancreas is very simple. Yeah. So, when I said pancreas, so pancreas is a heterocrine gland. Okay. So, why it is heterocrine gland is because it can act as both endocrine as well as exocrine. There is a particular group of cells in the pancreas called as islets of Langerhans. Okay, so this islets of Langerhans has two types of cells, alpha cell and beta cell. So this alpha cell produces glucagon and this beta cell produces insulin. The exocrine portion of the pancreas actually secretes the pancreatic juices. So this is about your pancreas. Fine? Yes? Sid, hello, hi, a very happy good evening. So thank you so much for joining my session. So please do like, share and subscribe. So I hope that glands are clear. Yes. So can we talk about the ducts now? So associated with the glands, we have the ducts. So now we are going to talk about the duct of the liver. Alright, so you have a liver, and adjacent to the liver you have something called as the gall bladder, right? So I hope you know. So you have the liver here. So liver has a duct, the passage on its own. So liver is a gland, it is the largest gland. So liver secretes, the main secretion of liver is bile. So since it is a gland, it has its own duct. The duct of the liver is called as the hepatic duct. Okay. So very adjacent to the liver, you have the gall bladder. So what is the function of gall bladder? So gall bladder just stores the bile. Okay. So this gall bladder also has a duct on its own. Yes, Rose, hello, hi, thank you so much for joining me this evening as well. So please do like, share and subscribe. So the name of this duct is called as the cystic duct. Okay, so this is carrying the bile from the liver, this is carrying the bile from the gall bladder. Gall bladder just stores bile, liver secretes the bile. So now both of this duct joins together. When this joins together, this becomes the common bile duct. Fine. So this becomes the common bile duct. So when this common bile duct is coming down, so it is encountered by the pancreas here. So this is the pancreas. So pancreas also has its own duct. Yes, so this is the pancreatic duct. So now this common bile duct combines with the pancreatic duct. When it combines with the pancreatic duct, it forms the common hepatopancreatic duct. Common hepato is liver. So from the liver as well as from the pancreas, common hepatopancreatic duct. Fine. So now the base of this duct was swollen. In biology, anything that is swollen is given the term ampulla. So the base of this duct, where it is swollen, it is called as the ampulla of Vater. Fine. So this opens into the C-shaped duodenum. So this opens into the duodenum. But whenever from one passage it is going to the other, you have what is called as a splinter. So splinter is just like a valve. So for example, when you open the tap, the water flows. When you close it, the flow is restricted. So similarly here you have valves. So we call them as splinters. So there is a splinter here to prevent the backflow of bile to the liver or to the gallbladder. So here the splinter is called a splinter of Boyden. Here you have a splinter so that it does not go back into the pancreas or to the liver. So this splinter is called a splinter of Oddi. Right? Yes. So are the ducts and the splinters clear? So the duct that is coming from the liver is your hepatic duct, right? The one that is coming from the gallbladder is your cystic duct. So they together meet in the common bile duct, which is guarded by the splinter of Boyden. So which in turn is overtaken or intervened by the pancreatic duct. So together they form the common hepatopancreatic duct, the base of which is swollen. So it becomes the ampulla of Vater, which in turn is guarded by what is called as the splinter of Oddi. Yes, clear? Yes, Rose, you have understood. Fantastic. So now the same thing I'll show you based on a picture that is in your textbook. So I guess this figure is there in your textbook. If you can see the ducts from the liver, so this is your hepatic duct. So this is the duct from your gallbladder. So this is your cystic duct. So this is your hepatic duct. So this is your cystic duct. So together they are joined by the common bile duct. So this comes, so here is your pancreatic duct. So they both are getting joined together. So this becomes the common hepatopancreatic duct. Alright, so this figure from your textbook is important. So with this we are done with the ducts of the digestive passage. So now we are moving into the enzymes of digestion. So in digestion's chapter you have a shoal of enzymes, I will say. You have so many enzymes. So let's see how many we can remember and how to remember them logically. Okay? Yes? So here we go. So first of all, the passage or the process of digestion begins in the buccal or the oral cavity, right? So the buccal or the oral cavity houses your teeth and your tongue. So your salivary glands, which are present outside the buccal cavity but release their secretion into the buccal cavity. So saliva is in turn present inside the buccal cavity. This saliva has two enzymes. So it produces two enzymes. First of all, it produces lysozyme and then it produces Salivaryamylase. Okay. So what is the function of lysozyme and what is the function of Salivaryamylase? Lysozyme, so usually students get confused between two terms. One is lysozyme. So just give me a minute. So students get confused between lysozyme and lysosomes. This somes is a type of organelle like your mitochondria, like your chloroplast. Okay, but your lysozyme is an enzyme. So it is an enzyme produced by the saliva to act against the bacteria. So when I say against, so it is anti. So this lysozyme is antibacterial. So it can kill the bacteria. Anti means it acts against the bacteria. Fine? Okay. So what is the function of salivary amylase? So if your food has starch, this starch is broken down by salivary amylase, where the pH has to be 6.8 and it is broken down into maltose. So this is why we say the process of digestion begins in the mouth or in the oral cavity. So your starch is a polysaccharide. If you remember biomolecules, your maltose is a disaccharide. So your salivary amylase breaks them down into the disaccharide, that is maltose. Fine. So the first enzyme that for your digestion starts with the saliva. So the saliva produces two enzymes. One is lysozyme and the other one is your salivary amylase. Okay. So here we go. So next is the enzymes produced by the gastric glands, because now the bolus reaches the stomach, right? So here it gets mixed with the gastric juices and it forms the chyme. If you remember, so the gastric glands have three types of cells. What are the three types of cells? The first one is the mucus or the peptic cell. Mucus or the neck cells, which produces mucus. So as the name says, it is EC. It produces mucus. So remember M and N. M and N comes consecutive in your alphabetical order. So mucus cells are also known as neck cells. So their primary function is to secrete mucus, right? Then the next one is the peptic or the chief cells. Okay, so they secrete the proenzyme pepsinogen. So what do I mean by proenzyme? They have still not become complete enzyme. So whenever an enzyme ends in no gen, it is in the inactive state. It is not in the active state. That is why it is proenzyme. Fine. The last type of cells in your gastric gland is your parietal or your oxyntic cells. So again, OP comes consecutive, so remember it like this, parietal or oxyntic. So this secretes HCl and the intrinsic factor, because in the digestion chapter, first you have the process of digestion. Once digestion happens and only then absorption happens. So for absorption you need certain molecules and factors, one among which is your intrinsic factor, which helps in the absorption of vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is your cyanocobalamin. Alright, clear? Okay, so first of all, the enzymes begins in your saliva. So you have your lysozyme and your salivary amylase, right? So coming further, we have the enzymes in the gastric glands. So here we only read about one enzyme which is in the inactive state, that is pepsinogen. So how is this pepsinogen getting activated? So pepsinogen is in the inactive form. It gets converted into pepsin, which is the active form. So this happens in the presence of your HCl. So who produces this HCl? The oxyntic or your parietal cells. Fine. So this is how the activation happens. Right. So where are your gastric cells? Trypsin comes in the pancreas rows. Wait, we are going there. Okay. So here this is the anatomy, histology of your stomach. So where you can see the tissues and all. So your gastric glands are here. So highlighting the gastric glands, you have the chief cells. The chief cells produces your pepsinogen. Right? Your parietal cells produces HCl and the intrinsic factor. So this is how it looks. Fine? Alright. So here we move forward and now we are going to talk about the enzymes present in your pancreatic juice. So before that, when I said liver secretes bile, so composition of bile is huge. So bile includes your bile salts. So bile has your bile pigments, bilirubin and viridin. So bile has cholesterol. but bile has no enzyme. So this is a point you should remember. Fine? Yes? Okay. So now talking about the pancreatic juice, because slowly it is coming, right? So your pancreatic ducts open into the duodenum, which means it is a part of the small intestine. So your pancreatic juice again contains 6 inactive enzymes. They will be activated only when they reach the duodenum. But when they are coming out of the pancreas and traveling through the pancreatic duct and the common hepatopancreatic duct, they are still in the inactive stage. Okay? So first inactive enzyme is trypsinogen. I told you, right? Once again, if it ends in nogen, it is in the inactive form. Yes, ma'am, a very happy good evening. So thank you so much for joining my lecture today. So please do like, share and subscribe. So the second one is chymotrypsinogen. Again, it is ending in nogen. So it is the inactive enzyme. Then it is procarboxypeptidase, procarboxy, again inactive one. So these three are easy to identify that they are in the inactive stage. But look at this amylase, lipase and nuclease. So you don't know whether they are in the inactive stage, but you know they are in the inactive stage once they have not reached the duodenum. So all these 6 enzymes get activated once they reach the duodenum. Okay, so once they reach the duodenum, so let's say all these enzymes have reached the duodenum. So what happens in the duodenum is that your trypsinogen is getting converted into trypsin, because this is the inactive form. So trypsin is the active form, right? So who helps in this conversion is an enzyme called as enterokinase. So this enterokinase activates trypsinogen to trypsin. So this enterokinase, right, it is secreted by the juice of the intestine, that is succus entericus. Succus entericus is the juice of the small intestine which secretes your enterokinase. Fine. So now your trypsin is activated. Now your trypsin, which is activated, simultaneously activates all the other enzymes. So see, so what is the second one? So that is chymotrypsinogen. So this will be activated in the presence of trypsin. So it becomes chymotrypsin. Your third one is your procarboxypeptidase. So which in the presence of trypsin gets converted into carboxypeptidases. Yes? Clear? So one more thing I forgot to tell you here. So here when I said pepsinogen is converted into pepsin, so no one asked me the function of this. So this pepsin actually breaks down the proteins in your bolus into peptides and peptones. So basically your pepsin is a proteolytic enzyme. So when I say proteolytic, so proteo is protein, lytic is breakdown. It breaks down the protein. So first of all, you should know where this enzyme is coming from. The second thing, you should know what is their function. Alright? Yes? Yeah, so all the enzymes get activated in this manner. But what is the function of these enzymes? That is very important. So you have your remaining proteins, peptones and proteoses. So some proteins are already broken down in biogastric glands. So the remnants are your peptones and proteoses, but some heavy proteins have still not been digested. So they are now broken into dipeptides. So what is the structure of your protein? So you have amino acid 1. You have your amino acid 2, you have your amino acid 3, right? So protein is a heteropolymer of amino acids. So this is one peptide bond, this is one peptide bond. So proteins are very long, they are quaternary structures. So when I break them down in the presence of trypsin, chymotrypsin and carboxypeptidase, they become dipeptides, the one which is having two peptide bonds. But still it is not the last step. Still it has to be broken down into individual amino acids. Still it has not reached the last step, right? So polysaccharides, some amount of polysaccharides have been broken down by the saliva. The remaining are broken down by the amylase present in your pancreatic juice. So it forms disaccharides. So your fats, right, they are broken down by lipase to form your diglycerides and your monoglycerides. Still the basic or the last subunit of your fats is your fatty acids plus glycerol. This is the basic component. It is still not in the last form. It is still in the intermediate step. For your polysaccharides, the basic unit is your monosaccharide, right? So nucleic acids like your DNA and RNA, they are made up of your nitrogenous base sugar, which is a nucleoside plus a phosphate. So they are broken down by nucleases to form your nucleotides and later into nucleosides. But still this can be broken down. So digestion is breakdown of complex molecules into simpler substances. It is not yet in the simpler form. Fine. So now we have the simplest form. So dipeptides in the previous slide are now broken into amino acids by dipeptidases. These are secreted in the small intestine itself. Fine. So then maltose, which was your disaccharide, which was a result of your salivary amylase breakdown, it is now broken down into glucose plus glucose. So glucose is a monosaccharide. So here we have reached the end product. Lactose, which is again a disaccharide, with the help of lactose form glucose plus galactose, which is again a monosaccharide respectively. Then you have sucrose, which is a polysaccharide, which is broken down by sucrase, which breaks, sucrose is a disaccharide, which is broken down into fructose and glucose, which are again monosaccharides. If you talk about nucleotides, they are broken down into nucleosides. This is further broken down into sugars and nitrogenous bases. So I hope you know nucleotides are made up of two components. One is nucleoside. The other one is the phosphate group. Your nucleoside is made up of nitrogenous bases and your sugars. So that is how they are broken down. So talking about your di and monoglycerides, in the presence of lipases, they are broken into fatty acids and glycerols. Now these are the simplest form. So if you read biomolecules, you will know which is the complex one, which is the complex biomacromolecule, which is a biomicromolecule. So now our food is broken down into the simplest form. So did you understand the ducts of digestion and the enzymes involved in digestion? Any doubts so far? Yes, please, I will quickly take your doubts. Any doubts? Please ask me. I am ready to explain once again. So this is what I wanted to highlight about the ducts and the enzymes. So I hope this is clear. Yes. So tomorrow at 5:30, we are going to talk about respiratory capacities and respiratory volumes. Okay. But before that, the summary. So what are the things that we read? We started off with the ducts of digestion. So before talking about the ducts, we spoke about the glands. So we have three glands. The first one was your salivary gland, then you had the liver and the pancreas, right? So when we were talking about the ducts, so each of the three salivary glands had the duct. So liver had its duct, pancreas had its duct, right? So after that, we went on to talk about the enzymes. So you have enzymes starting from the saliva in the buccal or the oral cavity towards your intestine. So this entire passage has a lot of enzymes, right? So this is what we were discussing. So now I will take 2 minutes of your time to let you know that your Career Point publication has these books with reference to your NEET exam 2022. So usually students ask me, the last minute preparators, which book to follow, which one to take, which one to buy. So these books are available in hard copy, but if you find hard copy a bit expensive and not feasible, so you can open Google Books, and these are present around for 99 rupees. You probably get the entire book, so you can solve as many questions as possible. See, the only difference between school exam and competitive exam is in school exam you don't have to solve questions. Whatever you know, you can write it down. But that is not so in case of a competitive exam, because you need to analyze, understand in each and every question, right? The more you're exposed to questions, the more the success you will reach. So you can try out these books. If you feel the hard copy is expensive, you can go in for the soft copy, which is available as e-books. It is just my duty to let you know that these books are available. I'm not forcing you. I'm just letting you know, right? So one more minute to take your time, I'm really sorry, but there is this revision test series for NEET. So I would say please do take this test series to analyze where you stand. So this happens only for 3 hours. The actual NEET exam timing, 3 hours 20 minutes say for the entire scenario. So how much time you take to solve each subject? Are you fast? Are you tough? Are you able to manage time? So which question, which chapter you're failing? So please, this is a way by which you practice. So we have this revision test series. So we have 25 tests, and you have one more offer along with this. If you're one of the 100 enrollments to buy or purchase this test series, you will be given access to the crash course at $499, which otherwise is 2,000 rupees. So in a way, when you buy this, you get the crash course for a brilliant offer. So if you're interested, please try. Otherwise, purchase the NEET crash course, NEET revision test series, because you should know where you stand. You should know how to manage time, whether you're able to shade properly, whether you look there as A and here you shade B. So what is the point, right? So practice makes perfect, and it brings precision, right? Yeah, so there is this new course beginning for class 11 students. So probably once the 10th board exam is over, so your siblings would have this doubt. So which stream should I take? Where should I go? So before even we wait for your schools to reopen and start with your portion, so the coaching always goes ahead. So here we open class 11th entire year course. So it is both for JEE, including advanced, as well as for NEET. So it's a 2-year course, right? So that's why it's written 2024. The student is in 11th right now. So for 2 years, we are giving them a proper course. It's a 2-year classroom course. So it starts on 1st of June. So you get scholars up to 90%. So probably you have to give this exam CP-SAT. So if your score in CP-SAT is brilliant, so you get a scholarship of 90%. So I know, ma'am, school is tiring, so we have a lot of tests. So the more you come out of your comfort zone, the more you succeed. So try. So you have to work hard, only then things will work out. And thank you so much for listening to me for the last 3 slides from your precious time. So with this we end. So if you genuinely liked my way of teaching, so please do like, share and subscribe. So tomorrow at 5:30 we'll be highlighting about respiratory capacities and respiratory volumes. So did you really like my session? So please put your suggestions as to which topic you want me to discuss, which question you want me to discuss. So please put it in the comment section, so I'll be happy to know where I might be of help to you. Alright, so it was great interacting with you. So I'm looking forward to meeting you guys tomorrow. So until then, this is me signing off. So stay tuned and take care. Thank you.